My name is Linda, and at 68 years old, I thought I'd seen everything. After teaching elementary school for 40 years in coastal Maine, retirement was supposed to be peaceful. That beachfront property my grandmother left me. My sanctuary. 3 generations of memories within those weathered blue walls. Then came that phone call from my daughter Amanda. "We're going tomorrow, Mom. I've sold your beach house." Her words hit like a tidal wave. I couldn't breathe. If you've ever had someone try to take something precious from you, let me know where you're watching from and click subscribe to hear how I handled the situation that nearly broke me. I inherited that beach house when I was 35. Grandma Rose had left specific instructions that the property should pass directly to me, saying I was the only one who truly understood its value beyond money. The white clapboard 2-story with blue shutters sits on a small bluff overlooking the Atlantic in a quiet part of Maine where tourists haven't quite discovered yet. Every summer of my childhood was spent there collecting seashells, building sandcastles, and listening to Grandma's stories on the wraparound porch as the sun set over the water. When my own children were growing up, we continued the tradition. Michael and Amanda spent their summers running wild on that same beach just as I had. My late husband Thomas and I would sit on that same porch watching them play in the surf. Those were golden days, before Thomas passed from cancer 12 years ago, before the kids moved away, before everything changed. After retirement, the beach house became my permanent home. I'd wake each morning to the sound of waves, take long walks along the shore, collecting heart-shaped rocks, and in the evenings, I'd host my book club on that beloved porch. The local community became my extended family. Ellen, who runs the bakery in town, Teresa, my neighbor who retired as a legal secretary, and Pastor Jim, who often stops by with fresh fish his son caught. My daughter Amanda couldn't be more different from me. At 38, she's always been ambitious and driven. After college, she moved to Boston and built a successful career as a high-end real estate agent. Her Instagram is filled with photos of luxury properties, expensive restaurants, and designer clothes. She married Richard, an investment banker, and they live in a sleek downtown penthouse that costs more than most people make in a decade. Where I value memories and tradition, Amanda sees only financial opportunity. Where I find joy in simple pleasures, she requires constant stimulation and status symbols. I love her deeply. She's my daughter. But sometimes I wonder how we could see the world so differently. Our relationship became increasingly strained over the years. It started with small comments during her infrequent visits. "Mom, do you know how much this property is worth now? You could sell it and buy something more manageable. This place needs so much work. Wouldn't you rather have something new with no maintenance issues? Think of all the traveling you could do if you unlocked this equity." I always smiled and changed the subject. The house wasn't just property to me. It was my heritage, my history, my home. Amanda's pressure intensified about 2 years ago. The real estate market in coastal areas had exploded, and suddenly my modest family beach house was sitting on land worth millions. Her calls became more frequent, her arguments more insistent. "Mom, be practical. You're getting older. This place is too big for you to manage." Richard and I could really use the investment opportunity. We want to start our own development company. Michael agrees with me. He could use the money too for his children's college fund. I remained firm. This house is not for sale. Not now, not ever. I plan to leave it to both of you someday with the understanding it stays in the family. Our last peaceful family gathering was Memorial Day weekend last year. Amanda, Richard, Michael, with his wife Sophia and their 2 children, came for the long weekend. It seemed like old times, barbecuing on the deck, swimming in the chilly Atlantic board games by the fireplace, when evening came. But something felt off. I caught Amanda taking photos of every room, measuring spaces with a small laser device when she thought I wasn't looking. Richard was on his phone constantly, often walking down to the beach to speak privately, Michael seemed uncomfortable avoiding my eyes whenever Amanda and Richard were discussing something in hushed tones. When they left, Amanda hugged me tightly. "Love you, Mom. We'll figure everything out soon." I didn't know then how ominous those words would prove to be. 2 weeks after Memorial Day, Amanda's behavior became increasingly strange. She'd call asking detailed questions about the property. When was the roof last replaced? What company handled the insurance? Did I have the original deed paperwork? When I asked why she needed this information, she'd brush it off as just being prepared for the future. Her tone changed too. There was a coldness, an impatience I hadn't heard before. Our conversations became shorter, more businesslike. When I'd try to tell her about my day or ask about her life, she'd find reasons to end the call quickly. I tried not to overthink it. Amanda had always been busy and focused on her career. Maybe she was just going through a stressful period at work. Still, something didn't feel right. Then came that Tuesday morning in June. I was having my morning coffee and idly browsing real estate listings online, a habit I'd developed to keep up with property values in the area. I liked seeing what my neighbors' homes were worth, what new developments were happening nearby. Call it the curiosity of a woman with too much time on her hands. I nearly spilled my coffee when I saw it. There among the new listings was my house. My house. The photos were professional, sunlight streaming through windows, ocean views, captured at the perfect angle rooms staged with flowers and decorative items I'd never seen before. The asking price made my head spin. $4.7 million. The listing agent, Amanda Parker, Boston, Luxury Properties. My fingers trembled as I clicked through the photos, reading the flowery description of my family home as a developer's dream with subdivision potential and premium oceanfront location ready for transformation. This had to be a mistake, some bizarre computer error. Amanda couldn't do this without my knowledge. I called her immediately, my heart pounding. "Amanda Parker," she answered crisply, the professional tone she used with clients. "Amanda, it's Mom. There's something very strange happening. I just found my house listed for sale online with you as the agent. There must be some kind of mistake." A long pause. Then, "It's not a mistake, Mom. We talked about this." "What?" "No, we didn't. I've repeatedly told you I don't want to sell." "Mom, you agreed last month. Don't you remember? You said you were tired of the maintenance and ready to move somewhere smaller." "That never happened. I would never say that." "Mom, we have it documented. You signed the power of attorney papers. I have them right here." The room seemed to tilt. "I never signed anything." "I think you're confused again, Mom. This is exactly why Michael and I have been concerned. You're forgetting important conversations. The papers have your signature. I can email you a copy if you'd like." The email arrived while we were still on the phone. I opened it with shaking hands. There it was. A power of attorney document with what looked like my signature. But I hadn't signed this. I would never have signed this. "Amanda, that's not my signature. Did you forge this?" Her voice hardened. "Mom, this is ridiculous. You're obviously having another memory episode. We've talked about this multiple times. You're 70 years old. I'm 68. Whatever. The point is, you're not equipped to manage this property anymore. It's falling apart around you. The money from this sale will help us all. You can get a nice condo in a retirement community with people your age. Michael's kids need college funds. Richard and I need capital for our new business. This is the right decision for everyone." I felt physically ill. My own daughter was gaslighting me, making me sound like I was losing my mind and stealing my home from under me. Amanda listened to me carefully. I did not agree to this. I did not sign those papers. What you're doing is fraud and it's elder abuse. I want you to take that listing down immediately. I'm sorry you're upset, Mom. I think you should talk to Michael. He agrees this is for the best. My son, my sweet, gentle Michael, was in on this too. I called him immediately after hanging up with Amanda. Michael lives in Seattle with his family. He's a software engineer, quieter and more thoughtful than his sister. Mom, hey, he answered, sounding wary. Michael, did you know about Amanda trying to sell my house with forged documents? A long sigh. Mom, Amanda said you were having second thoughts. She said you agreed to the sale but might be feeling emotional about it now. I never agreed to anything, Michael. She forged my signature on legal documents. Mom, that's a serious accusation. Are you sure you didn't sign something and forget? You have been a bit forgetful lately? Not him, too. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I know exactly what I have and haven't signed, Michael. I can't believe you would take her side in this. I'm not taking sides, Mom. I just think maybe there's a misunderstanding. Amanda says the house needs hundreds of thousands in repairs that you can't afford. She's worried about you living there alone as you get older. We both are. The betrayal cut deep. Both my children were conspiring against me, treating me like I was incompetent and trying to steal my home for their own financial gain. I hung up feeling more alone than I had since Thomas died. That evening I called my neighbor Teresa. Before retiring, she'd spent 40 years as a legal secretary for one of the most respected law firms in Portland. If anyone would know what to do, it would be her. She did what? Teresa exclaimed after I explained the situation. Linda, that's fraud plain and simple, and elder abuse, which is taken very seriously these days. She's making me sound like I'm senile Teresa. Michael, too. They're both talking about episodes and memory problems I don't have. Classic gaslighting technique, Teresa said grimly. Makes it harder for you to fight back if everyone thinks you're mentally compromised. Teresa came over with her laptop, and together we dug deeper into the listing. What we discovered made everything worse. The listing showed an accepted offer status. Someone had already made an offer to purchase my house, and Amanda had accepted it. With more research, we found the buyer, Jackson Palmer Development, LLC. A quick Google search revealed Palmer was known for buying coastal properties, demolishing existing structures, and building luxury condominiums or resorts. They were going to tear down my family home, my grandmother's legacy. We need to act fast, Teresa said. First thing tomorrow, we're going to Amanda's office to confront her in person. This has gone far enough. The next day, dressed in my most professional outfit, a navy blue suit I'd worn to parent-teacher conferences for years, I walked into Boston Luxury Properties with Teresa beside me. The receptionist smiled pleasantly. I need to see Amanda Parker immediately, I said, keeping my voice steady. I'm her mother, and this is regarding a fraudulent listing. The receptionist's eyes widened, but she called Amanda. Minutes later, my daughter appeared looking immaculate in a tailored white pantsuit, her dark hair swept into a perfect chignon. For a moment, I felt a stab of maternal pride at how beautiful and polished she looked, before remembering why I was there. Mom, what are you doing here? Her tone was a mixture of surprise and irritation, with a forced smile for appearances. We need to talk about my house that you've listed without my permission. Amanda's smile tightened. Let's go to my office. Once the door closed, her demeanor changed completely. You shouldn't have come here. This is my workplace. And that's my home you're selling illegally, I countered. Mom, please, you're confused again. We discussed this extensively. You agreed the house was too much for you to handle. Stop saying I'm confused. I never agreed to anything, and you know it. You forged my signature, Amanda. That's a crime. Her voice rose. I'm trying to help you. That house is falling apart. You can't afford the repairs. Our voices carried through the thin walls. I could see people in the hallway glancing toward the office. You need to take that listing down right now and call Palmer Development to tell them the sale is off. Amanda's eyes narrowed. It's too late. We're under contract. Backing out now would destroy my professional reputation and open me to lawsuits. That's not my problem. You created this situation with fraud. Mom, I think you should see a doctor. Her voice was suddenly louder, clearly meant to be heard by those outside. These memory issues and delusions are getting worse. We're all very concerned about you. I felt the blood drain from my face as I realized her strategy. Teresa stepped forward. Amanda, I've known you since you were in diapers, so I'm going to speak plainly. What you're doing is fraudulent and abusive. Your mother never signed those documents, and we both know it. Unless you want to face criminal charges and disbarment from real estate, you'll fix this immediately. Amanda's face flushed with anger. This is a family matter. You have no right to interfere. I'm a witness now, Teresa said calmly, and I'll testify if needed. As we left the office, I could feel the stares of Amanda's colleagues. I heard whispers, "That's Amanda's mother, apparently having cognitive issues. So sad. Early dementia, maybe?" The rumors spread quickly in our small coastal town. When I stopped at this grocery store the next day, Ellen from the bakery approached me with concern in her eyes. "Linda, I heard about what's happening. If you need help finding a good assisted living facility, my mother loves hers in Portland." At the pharmacy, the technician spoke extra slowly to me as if I suddenly couldn't understand normal speech. Pastor Jim came by with a casserole and gently suggested his sister worked at a memory care unit that had openings. Meanwhile, Amanda had started moving my things without permission. I came home from a doctor's appointment scheduled specifically to document my perfect cognitive health to find her and two men boxing up items in the living room. "What are you doing?" I demanded. "Just getting a head start on packing, Mom. The closing is in 3 weeks. Get out of my house right now." The men looked uncomfortable, but Amanda reassured them. "My mother is having a difficult transition. It's okay." After they left, I discovered several family heirlooms missing. Grandma Rose's antique silver tea set, the handmade quilt that had been a wedding gift, and several pieces of jewelry I kept in my bedroom. When I called Amanda, she denied taking anything of importance, saying she was just organizing things you don't use anymore. I changed the locks the next day. As the supposed closing date approached, I could barely sleep. I'd contacted several attorneys, but without substantial retainer fees up front, money I didn't have, none would take the case. The local police listened sympathetically, but said it appeared to be a civil matter, especially since Amanda had power of attorney documents, even if I disputed their authenticity. I felt trapped in a nightmare watching the countdown to losing my home, my history, my security, with no way to stop it. 21 days after discovering the listing, I received the call that would change everything. It was a Thursday evening. I was sitting on my porch watching the sunset and trying to find peace in what might be one of my last nights in my beloved home. The phone rang. Amanda's ringtone. "Hello." "We're going tomorrow, Mom. I've sold your beach house." Her voice was brisk, businesslike. "The closing is at 10. The movers will come for the rest of your things afterward. I've booked you a room at Extended Stay America until we find you a suitable condo." The casual cruelty of her words stunned me. This was my daughter. The little girl I'd nursed through chicken pox, taught to ride a bike, helped with college applications. Now she was disposing of me and my home like unwanted furniture. "Amanda, please, don't do this. This house means everything to me." "It's just a house, Mom. You'll make new memories somewhere else. The money will set you up comfortably for the rest of your life." "I don't want the money, I want my home." "That's not practical. You're being selfish. Michael and I need this investment opportunity. His kids need college funds. Richard and I need startup capital." "So you're stealing from me to fund your lives?" I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. "We're not stealing anything. It's family money that should be working for all of us, not tied up in a deteriorating property you can't maintain. The deed will be transferred tomorrow, and that's final. Michael is flying in tonight. We'll both be at the closing." "Michael, too." He's really going through with this. The double betrayal cut deep. Of course. We've agreed to split everything 50-50. He's just been letting me handle the details since real estate is my expertise. You can't do this, Amanda. I never gave permission. Her voice turned cold. It's already done, Mom. The sooner you accept it, the easier this will be for everyone. I'll text you the address of the extended stay. Pack what you need for a few weeks. She hung up before I could respond. I sat frozen, the phone still in my hand as darkness fell around me. It felt like the end of everything. My home, my family, my dignity. The pain was so intense I could barely breathe. I sobbed until no more tears would come, my body shaking with grief and betrayal. My neighbor Bill found me there hours later, still sitting in the dark, staring at nothing. He'd come to return a borrowed lawn tool and grew concerned when I didn't answer his calls from the garden path. Linda, are you okay? It's almost midnight. I told him everything, the words pouring out in a jumbled mess of heartbreak and desperation. Bill listened quietly, then said something that changed everything. But Linda, isn't the house still in your grandmother's trust? I remember Thomas mentioning something about that years ago. A memory flashed in my mind. Thomas, my practical, cautious husband, insisting we keep the house in Rose's family trust for tax purposes. I'd forgotten all about it with everything that had happened. The safe deposit box, I whispered. What? I need to get to the bank, right now. Bill looked at his watch. It's midnight, Linda. The banks are closed. First thing tomorrow then, before 10. I felt a spark of hope for the first time in weeks. I barely slept that night, my mind racing through legal terms. I barely understood trying to remember conversations with Thomas from over a decade ago. At 8:30 the next morning, I was waiting at the doors of Maine Coast Bank when they opened. The manager, who'd known me for years, escorted me to the safe deposit box vault. My hands trembled so badly I could barely insert the key. Inside the box were our most important documents: birth certificates, Thomas's life insurance policy, our wills, and there at the bottom a thick legal document with Rose's family trust embossed on the cover. I flipped through, frantically scanning for anything about the beach house. And there it was, the section on property assets. The beach house had indeed been placed in the trust with me as the primary trustee. Most importantly, there was a clause specifically prohibiting the sale of the property without unanimous consent from all named trustees. And they're listed as secondary trustees were Michael and Amanda, meaning they couldn't sell without my signature. Even more crucially, I found the original deed to the property still showing the trust as the legal owner. I had never transferred the deed to my personal name, which meant Amanda's power of attorney, even if it had been legitimate, couldn't be used to sell the house. She had no legal right to sell what wasn't technically mine to sell. I clutched those papers to my chest, tears of relief streaming down my face. The bank manager kindly offered me the use of a private office and the phone. With shaking fingers, I called Teresa, who connected me with Frank Winters, a semi-retired attorney she'd worked with for decades. Frank listened to my story, reviewed the documents I read to him over the phone, and his response was immediate. They can't sell that house. Get to my office with those documents right now. We'll stop this. I arrived at Frank's office just before 9, giving us less than an hour before the scheduled closing. The small, cluttered space in downtown Portland was nothing like the sleek law firms I'd imagined, but Frank's sharp eyes and confident manner reassured me. He reviewed the trust documents and deed, occasionally nodding or making notes. This is open and shut, Mrs. Miller. Your daughter has no authority to sell this property. The house is owned by the trust, not by you personally, which means your power of attorney, even if legitimate, which we both know it's not, doesn't apply. Furthermore, as a trustee herself, she's violating her fiduciary duty to the trust by attempting this sale. He immediately drafted a cease and desist letter to Amanda, the real estate company, the title company, and Jackson Palmer Development. His secretary rushed to make copies while Frank called the title company directly. "This is Franklin Winter's attorney for Linda Miller regarding the property at 247 Shore Road, Oak Point. I'm informing you that this transaction is fraudulent and must be halted immediately. I've just sent documentation proving the property is held in trust and cannot be sold without unanimous trustee approval." Frank's authoritative tone left no room for argument. "Yes, I understand. Closing is scheduled for 10. That closing will not be happening. My client will pursue legal action against all parties if any attempt is made to proceed." Next, he called Jackson Palmer himself. "Mr. Palmer, Frank Winters here. I'm calling regarding the Shore Road property your company is attempting to purchase today. I want to make you aware that this sale constitutes fraud. The seller does not have legal authority to transfer the property." Frank listened, then continued. "Yes, I understand you've invested time and resources. However, continuing with this transaction, knowing what I've just told you, would make you complicit in elder abuse and fraud. I think your company's reputation would suffer considerably if that became public knowledge." My phone began buzzing with calls from Amanda. I let them go to voicemail following Frank's advice not to engage without him present. Her messages grew increasingly frantic. "Mom, what are you doing? The title company just called. This is embarrassing. Mom, pick up now. You're about to ruin everything. The Palmer people are threatening to sue us. Do you have any idea what you've done?" The final message was different, Michael's voice sounding shaken. "Mom, it's me. Something's happened with the closing. Amanda's freaking out. What's going on? Please call me back." Frank advised me to respond only to Michael with a simple text: "Meet me at Frank Winter's office in Portland. Come alone." While we waited, Frank outlined our next steps. "We'll file for an emergency injunction this afternoon to prevent any future attempts to sell. We'll also file a complaint about the fraudulent power of attorney. That's a serious offense, forgery and elder abuse. Amanda could face criminal charges and lose her real estate license." The gravity of the situation hit me. "She's still my daughter," I said quietly. Frank's eyes softened. "That's your decision. But what she's done is not just wrong, it's criminal. At minimum, you need protection from further attempts." Michael arrived first, looking confused and anxious. I'd always been able to read my son better than my daughter. The guilt was written all over his face. "Mom, what's happening?" "Amanda said there's a problem with the title." "The problem, Michael, is that your sister forged my signature and attempted to sell property she has no right to sell." Frank introduced himself and explained the legal situation. Michael sank into a chair, his face pale. "I didn't know about any forgery," he said weakly. "Amanda said you'd agreed, but might be emotional about the sale. She handled all the paperwork." "Did you really believe I would sell our family home after everything I've always said about keeping it in the family?" He couldn't meet my eyes. "Amanda said you'd finally understood it was the practical thing to do, that you were having memory problems and might get confused about what you'd agreed to, but that the signed documents were proof. And you believed her, without even calling to talk to me directly about such a massive decision." "I should have," he admitted. "I knew something felt off, but Amanda was so convincing. And to be honest, the money would have helped us. Sophia lost her job last year, and with the kids' college coming up. So you were willing to take my home to solve your financial problems." He finally looked up, tears in his eyes. "It sounds terrible when you put it that way. I told myself it was better for everyone, that you'd be safer in a smaller place with no maintenance worries, that we were helping you, not just ourselves." "Where's Amanda now?" Frank asked. "Heading here, I think. She's with Richard. She's not handling this well." As if on cue, the office door burst open. Amanda stormed in, Richard following behind, looking uncomfortable. "What have you done?" she demanded, ignoring Frank and focusing her rage on me. "Do you have any idea the damage you've caused? Palmer is threatening to sue for breach of contract. My reputation in the industry is on the line." "You should have thought of that before committing fraud," Frank said calmly. Amanda finally seemed to register his presence. Who are you? Franklin Winters, your mother's attorney. And you must be Amanda, the daughter who forged her mother's signature and attempted to sell property held in trust without proper authority. Amanda's composure slipped for just a moment, fear flashing across her face before she rallied. This is ridiculous. I have power of attorney. Mom signed it. No, I didn't, I said firmly. And even if I had, the beach house isn't owned by me personally. It's held in Rose's family trust, which requires all trustees, including you and Michael, to unanimously approve any sale. You knew that, Amanda. It's why you tried to use the power of attorney route instead. Richard touched Amanda's arm. Is this true? You said your mother had agreed to sell. Amanda shook him off. She did agree. She's just forgotten, or she's being manipulative. Mom, you can't maintain that house. You don't have the money for the repairs it needs. You're being selfish, holding onto a property that could benefit the whole family. It's my home, I said simply. It's not an investment or an asset to be liquidated. It's where I live, where our family history is. It's a building, an old deteriorating building that's going to become a money pit. Then let it be my money pit. I never asked either of you for financial help with it. Michael stood up. She's right, Amanda. We went too far. Mom never wanted to sell. Amanda rounded on him. Seriously, you're backing out now. What about Sophie's job loss? What about the kids' college funds? What about our plans? Not like this, Michael said quietly. Not by taking Mom's home against her will. Amanda turned back to me, switching tactics. Her voice softened, taking on the persuasive tone she likely used with hesitant clients. Mom, please. This is a golden opportunity. Palmer is offering far above market value because he wants to close quickly. That money could secure your future help, Michael's family, and give Richard and me the chance to start our own business. We're talking about financial security for the whole family. By destroying my home and my peace of mind, I countered. By lying to me, forging my signature, and trying to make everyone think I'm losing my mental capacity. Frank intervened. Ms. Parker, I've already spoken with Mr. Palmer. He's withdrawing from the transaction due to the legal complications and potential fraud implications. There is no deal to salvage. Amanda's face contorted with anger. This is your fault, she spat at me. You've ruined everything. For the first time, I felt not hurt, but strength. I stood up, looking my daughter directly in the eye. No, Amanda, you did this. The house was never yours to sell. It was never just an asset to be liquidated for your convenience. It's my home, my heritage, and someday it will be a legacy for your children, not something to be demolished for a quick profit. She stormed out, Richard trailing behind with an apologetic glance back at me. Michael remained looking broken. Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have stood up to her. I should have called you directly. Yes, you should have, I agreed. I raised you better than this, Michael. I know, he whispered. Can you ever forgive me? I don't know yet, I answered honestly. That will take time. As he left, I felt a strange mixture of sorrow and triumph. I had lost something precious. My children's integrity, my trust in them. But I had found something too. My own strength, my voice, and the power to stand up for myself, even against those I loved most. Frank squeezed my shoulder. You did well, Mrs. Miller. Now let's make sure this can never happen again. The aftermath of that confrontation unfolded over the following months. Frank helped me file a complaint about the fraudulent power of attorney, though I chose not to pursue criminal charges against Amanda. Instead, we focused on protective measures, a new ironclad will with specific provisions, a legitimate power of attorney granted to Teresa, and additional legal safeguards for the trust. The professional consequences for Amanda were significant despite my restraint. The Massachusetts Real Estate Commission opened an ethics investigation based on the attempted fraudulent transaction. Boston Luxury Properties placed her on leave pending the investigation's outcome. Several of her clients, hearing rumors of the situation, took their business elsewhere. Amanda's anger toward me intensified initially. She blamed me for the damage to her career, for the loss of the development opportunity with Palmer, for everything that had gone wrong. Her calls and texts were bitter accusations that I was a selfish old woman who cared more about an outdated house than her own family's future. I maintained my boundaries, responding only through Frank, when necessary. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, keeping my distance from my daughter when every maternal instinct wanted to comfort her even after what she'd done. Michael's situation was different. Unlike Amanda, he seemed genuinely remorseful. He called regularly, first with awkward apologies, later with more natural conversations as we slowly rebuilt trust. 2 months after the confrontation, he flew to Maine alone for a weekend. We sat on the porch swing where I'd rocked him as a baby, watching the waves roll in. "I let money cloud my judgment," he admitted. "Amanda made it sound so reasonable, that you were struggling with the house, that you'd be happier somewhere smaller, that the money would help everyone. But deep down I knew you would never willingly leave this place." "Why didn't you talk to me directly?" He sighed. "Amanda said you'd deny it because you were emotional about the house, that your memory was getting spotty about what you'd agreed to. I should have known better. You've never been confused a day in your life." "We all make mistakes, Michael. The question is what we do afterward." He nodded to tears in his eyes. "I've started therapy. This whole thing made me realize I still let Amanda steamroll me, just like when we were kids. I need to find my own voice, not just go along with whatever she wants because it's easier." Our relationship began healing that weekend. It wasn't perfect. The shadow of betrayal lingered, but it was a start. Amanda was a more complicated story. For 3 months she refused any real conversation, sending only hostile texts or formal communications through her attorney. But life has a way of humbling us all. The real estate market in Boston took a sudden downturn. Richard's investment firm announced layoffs. Amanda's income, already reduced by the ethics investigation, couldn't sustain their lavish lifestyle alone. They were forced to sell their penthouse and move to a much more modest condo in the suburbs. It was only then, facing her own housing crisis, that Amanda began to understand what she'd nearly done to me. Her first genuine call came 6 months after the failed closing. "Mom," her voice was smaller than I'd heard it in years. "I've been doing a lot of thinking and talking with someone, a therapist. I need to tell you something." "I'm listening," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "I was wrong. What I did to you was wrong. Not just legally wrong, but morally wrong. I convinced myself I was helping you, that I knew better what you needed than you did. But that was just an excuse to get what I wanted." It wasn't a perfect apology. Amanda had always struggled to be fully vulnerable. But it was sincere. For the first time, she wasn't blaming me or circumstances. She was taking responsibility. "Thank you for saying that," I replied. "It means a lot to hear you acknowledge what happened." "I miss you," she said suddenly. "I miss who we used to be before I became so focused on status and money that I was willing to steal from my own mother." The raw honesty caught me off guard. "I miss you too, sweetie." We both cried, then a first step toward healing. The reconciliation with Amanda has been slower, more tentative than with Michael. Trust, once broken so severely, doesn't mend easily. We're still finding our way back to each other, one careful conversation at a time. The beach house itself has undergone a transformation too. With Frank's help, I secured a modest home equity line of credit to address the most pressing maintenance issues. Michael flew out twice to help with repairs, bringing his teenage son to learn household skills while reconnecting with the family property. I've made some practical concessions to aging, converting the downstairs study into a bedroom for when stairs become too difficult, installing grab bars in the bathrooms, hiring local teenagers for yard work I can no longer manage alone. But the essential character of the house remains unchanged. The wraparound porch where 4 generations of our family have watched Atlantic sunsets. The kitchen where Grandma Rose taught me to bake her famous blueberry pie. The living room where my children built blanket forts on rainy days. This place was worth fighting for, not just for the building itself, but for what it represents. Continuity, heritage, the physical embodiment of our family's story. As I sit on my porch this evening watching the familiar rhythm of waves against the shore, I reflect on the journey of the past year. The betrayal cut deep, but from that wound came unexpected gifts. I discovered a strength I never knew I possessed. For most of my life, I'd defined myself through others: daughter, wife, mother, teacher. The crisis forced me to stand firmly as just Linda, a woman capable of protecting what matters to her. My relationship with the community deepened in surprising ways. After the truth about Amanda's scheme became known, neighbors rallied around me. Ellen brings fresh muffins every Wednesday. Bill checks my roof after storms. Pastor Jim's teenage grandchildren help with heavy yard work. I've found family beyond blood ties. The experience changed how I approach legacy, too. The new trust provisions ensure the beach house will remain in the family for generations, with specific protections against future sales. Michael's children will inherit my share of the trusteeship when I'm gone, with stipulations about maintaining the property's character and family access. Amanda and I continue our cautious reconciliation. She visited last month for the first time since the incident, bringing her famous lemon squares as a peace offering. We sat on the porch in awkward silence, at first, then gradually found our way to conversation. Not about the past, that wound is still too tender, but about safer topics. Her new job at a smaller, more ethical real estate company. My book club's latest selection. The neighbor's new puppy. As she was leaving, she paused at the door. "The house looks good, Mom. You've taken good care of it all these years." It wasn't an explicit apology, but the acknowledgement meant something. Progress comes in small steps. Michael visits more regularly now, sometimes bringing his family. His daughter Emma, now 16, has developed a special connection to the house. She collects shells, just as I did at her age, arranging them on the windowsills. Last summer, she asked to hear all the old family stories. How Grandma Rose bought the property during the Depression, when no one wanted a remote beach house. How her great-grandfather built the boathouse by hand. How her own father learned to swim in these waters. The story continues, weaving new memories into the fabric of the old ones. The greatest lesson from this ordeal wasn't about legal documents or family dynamics, though I learned plenty about both. It was about the courage to stand up for yourself, even when those you love are on the other side. It was about recognizing that true love, whether for children, partners, or parents, doesn't demand sacrifice of your essential needs and values. Sometimes, the people we love the most are the ones who teach us our hardest lessons. My beach house stands stronger now, and so do I. Have you ever had to stand up to family members to protect something precious to you? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that it's never too late to find your strength and voice. Thank you for listening, and remember, your home is wherever your heart feels peace, whether that's a beach house, an apartment, or somewhere in between.